myself. I will invite members to introduce themselves, starting with the Majority Leader.
My name is Kamani Shongwa, MP Kikuyu.
My name is Opio Wandai, MP Ugunja.
My name is Junet Mohammed, MP Suna East.
My name is Owen Baya, MP Kilifi North.
I'm Robert Mbui, MP for Kadhiani.
Lehab Mukami, County MP Nyeri.
Ferdinand Kevin Wanyonyi, Member of Parliament Kwanza, Trans Nzoia County.
George Gitonga Murugara, MP Tharaka, Tharaka Nithi.
David Kosing, my name, MP Pokot South, West Pokot County.
Abdul Rahim Daud, MP for North Imenti, Meru County, and I'm told you are born in my county.
Mishimboko, MP Likoni.
Good afternoon, Caleb Amisi, MP Sabot.
Abdishuri, MP Balabala.
Emase Mary, MP Teso South. Naisula Lesuda, MP Samburu West.
Thank you. We have the Clerk of the National Assembly and her team.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My name is Sarah Kioko, the Acting Clerk of the National Assembly, and I have with me the Director of Audit, Appropriation and other select committees, Ms. Florence Abonyo, and the Deputy Director, Legal Services, Mr. Michael Karuru, and other staff of Parliament assisting this committee. Thank you.
Thank you. Mercy. This committee will have a short engagement with you. As I said, being given the limited nature of what your portfolio entails. But before that, we'll ask you a few questions. Do you have your tax compliance certificate?
Yes, I do, Honorable Chair.
Do you have your Higher Education Loans Board clearance?
Yes, I do.
Do you have your clearance from the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission?
Yes, I do.
Do you have the Certificate of Good Conduct from DCI?
Yes, I do.
Have you ever been charged in a court of law and convicted of any criminal offense?
No, Mr. Chairman.
Are you a dual citizenship of Kenya and any other sovereign?
No, I'm not.
At a personal level, what is your financial net worth?
My financial net worth, as disclosed in Part 25, is 475,400,000, and this is comprised as follows: land and buildings at about 380.4, shares, stocks and deposits at about 89 million, agriculture in the form of largely commercial farming of trees at about 6 million, and motor vehicles, 4 motor vehicles, about 2 million, 3 million shillings. That is all, Mr. Chair.
Your national ID?
Yes, I do.
You'll...
Chair, if you don't mind, she repeats that again.
Can you tabulate your wealth again?
Okay. It's 475,400,000, and this is comprised of land and buildings at about 380.4 million, shares, stocks and deposits at about 89 million, agriculture 6 million. I also own 4 vehicles. These are all in joint property. The 4 vehicles are valued at about 3-4 million. They are fairly old vehicles. They are not new.
For the chair. Down of the land and buildings, Chair.
Pardon me?
A breakdown of the land and buildings.
Okay. So at the land and buildings, I own these properties in community of property. I am married. And these properties are in Nairobi, where we own some apartments and the home that we live in Nanyuki, Malindi. We also have an apartment in South Africa, in Johannesburg.
Point of order, Chair.
Yes.
Chair, she has in 25 she has put it as approximately 188,500,000. Now she's giving us different figures. So what should we believe now? What she has put on her, the CV we've got in front of us.
Mercy, you just took a note to say nothing but the truth.
Yes, I can clarify that. I'm
Yes.
surprised that that document was circulated, because what I had done is to initially provide it at 50% adjusted for debt, and subsequently, on speaking to my accountant, I was guided that based on the requirement for net worth, to provide information based on market realizable value. So whereas previously I had disclosed based on purchase price, the adjustment therefore moved upwards on the assumption that the property was being sold now. I did call the chambers. I indicated that I wished to make the adjustment, and I provided the adjusted document based on that information. So this new document is what I had expected to be circulated to the members.
You spoke to our clerks?
Yes, I called and I spoke to Florence, Madam Florence, and this is the document that I had expected to be circulated.
But even as we look for the real document, you say you had put this figure at half the value.
And adjusted for debt.
But even if multiplied by 2, this one still comes to below 400 million.
Yes, because I had adjusted for debt.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes, Daud.
The figure 470 or whatever she's quoting, has it been adjusted for debt as well? Because that remains there. The liability is a liability.
Yes.
Even if you adjust for market price,
Yes.
have you already adjusted for the liability?
So I was advised not to go to that level. Just give the market realizable value, and that should be okay, because in the event that you sell something, then...
Could you probably give us how much the liabilities are then?
Oh, I see. So on account of land and buildings, we do hold quite an amount of significant debt in the region of about 70 million, but this has been paid over time. So when you factor that in, you're able to see how that adjustment comes down.
Yes. Chair, you see... Chair.
Yes.
No, Chair, I thought this matter should have been very easier than this, because what she should have provided is her, what she owns, the market value, minus her liabilities, and that's what is called net worth.
Yes.
So net worth, yeah. So I don't know why she's turning this place to an accounting firm. I thought, like the other predecessor, like the other nominees who appeared before, you come with what you own. This is, I own 1 billion. There was even 4 billion here. So 4 billion. Then remove what you owe people, the banks and the SACCOs and everything. Then you say my net worth is 300 million shillings or 120 million.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mercy, that's what I expect. You have 200 million
Yes.
in asset and cash. You have a mortgage of 50. So your net worth is 150. It's so simple. That's what this committee expects. You know that all those rigmaroles will not be very helpful. But
Indeed.
we'll make progress if we need further. They will ask you on your wealth when we open up.
Okay.
In the course of this engagement, Mercy, this is not an adversarial engagement. I can see you're a lawyer. I'm sure you know what I mean.
Yes.
It's a conversation for this committee to assess your suitability to occupy a sensitive office called Secretary to the Cabinet, an office that is extremely sensitive in the operations of any country. So for us to make good progress, I will give you 5 minutes to tell us the story of your life up to where you are. Then thereafter, I'll open the floor for members to ask you some questions or make some comments about what you are going to. We approve your nomination.
Okay. Thank you, Honorable Chairman and members, for this opportunity to present myself to this distinguished committee. Let me first start off by expressing my profound gratitude to His Excellency the President for nominating me to the office of Secretary to the Cabinet. This is indeed a life opportunity for me, for which I'm profoundly grateful. It is a great honor. Mr. Chairman and members, I am a first born of 4 siblings, and I was born in Kovo in Imenti South, Meru County. And the reason for that was because my father, the late Geoffrey Cairo Wanjau, was one of the first early graduates of University of Nairobi, and he had just been sent on his first posting as the first African headmaster at Nkubu High School. As a result of his career movement, our family tended to move around Kenya quite a lot. And growing up, I ended up living within 7 counties of this country. I am married with 2 teenage daughters. This experience, as you can imagine, in my early years, comprised of quite a lot of moving around, making new friends and saying goodbye almost every 2 years of my school life. And this allowed me an opportunity to embrace Kenyans of all walks of life and to develop values of social justice, faith, resilience, and determination. I started my primary school life in Nanyuki and completed my standard 8 at Thika Memorial Church School in Kiambu County, in between having moved through a number of schools. In 1989, I went to Gandu Girls High School in Nyeri County, and upon completion of my Form 4, proceeded to University of Nairobi for a Bachelor of Laws degree, upon which I went to the Kenya School of Law for a diploma in law. So I'm an advocate of the High Court of Kenya, 1997. That marked the beginning of my professional life with Muthoga Gaturu and Company. And after a year, I progressed to South Africa for my postgraduate degree, and I earned a master's in advanced corporate law and tax from the University of Cape Town. I happened to be in South Africa barely 4 years after its gaining independence, so I was a beneficiary of the Black equity employment, which was availed irrespective of citizenship, so long as one was Black. And that allowed me to spend a lot of time and work with KPMG in Cape Town, where I was involved in the demutualization of Old Mutual and the subsequent listing on the London Stock Exchange. Upon completion of my postgraduate studies, I came back to Nairobi, went again briefly into legal practice with Kirundi and Company, and then moved to PricewaterhouseCoopers in the tax department. That marked the end of my private sector career as I went into the Communications Commission of Kenya in 2001. And have had 22 illustrious years in the public service. During these 22 years, a lot happened. Allow me, I will just go through some significant events. In 2005, I had the opportunity to proceed on international secondment to the UN in Geneva, and I spent some time there with the International Telecommunications Union as a regulatory expert. And the output of that was a toolkit that was designed to build capacity for regulatory staff globally, because the ICT sector was global, very big, very fast, and there was the need to boost skills. This was a UN World Bank InfoDev project. Upon completion of this project, I did come back, and in 2006, I was nominated as the Kenya Fellow for the Eisenhower Fellowship, and I proceeded to the United States on a fellowship for international development. This allowed me to see what possibilities could lie if one exerted themselves to unlock policy possibilities. Upon return from the fellowship, I continued with my work, which involved policy and legislative reform, and I was engaged in developing draft policies and regulatory frameworks which have formed the bedrock of the successful ICT sector in Kenya as we know it today. In 2018, I had the opportunity to chair the National Task Force for the policy for data protection in this country, and the output is the creation of the Data Protection Office that we know today, which is currently operational for about 2 years. While within the public sector, I rose, and the highest role that I performed was the Acting Director General of the Communications Authority of Kenya for 2 years until a substantive Director General was appointed. As we speak, I serve as the Director of Legal Affairs and the Board Secretary. During my tenure as Acting Director General, Chair, I would mention that barely 6 months had passed when the COVID pandemic hit the world, and I therefore became in a time of crisis. And as they say, never waste a crisis. And this marked an opportunity for me, for the ICT sector, to score certain successes for this country. COVID was a time of great destabilization, and one of the successes was the use of resources available in this country to enable economic stabilization, because in 24 hours, the economy moved from the office to the house. Learning moved from the school to the house. And this availed us an opportunity to discuss with the sector on how best we could enable them to carry the extended traffic over that period. And Mr. Chairman, it turned out that Kenya was the first country in sub-Saharan Africa to issue regulatory directives that enabled that support, and this was recognized by the United Nations. I also had a chance to chair the COVID-19 ICT Advisory Committee. This was a committee that tried to utilize ICT innovations for COVID, and I'm proud to say that out of the about 700 innovations that were tabled before us, 85 were identified and were utilized for contact tracing and other health measures within this country. From a people perspective, given the circumstance of the day...
1 more minute.
That's in order. Given the safety consequences of the day, a lot of time was spent to provide safety and security. Mr. Chairman, I do recognize the great weight, as you have mentioned, that this role carries. I recognize the high level of accountability that it comes with. And indeed, I do hope that this exposure, this background, makes me a suitable fit for this role if appointed to the role. Indeed, as I close, I wish to indicate that I resonate deeply with an economic transformation agenda that recognizes that when the tide rises, it rises for all. Indeed, the tide should rise for all. Thank you.
Excellent. We'll now open up to the committee. I'll start with the Majority Leader.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Maybe just from where the nominee stopped, that indeed the tide should rise. I was just going to add from the bottom up for all. And I pray that you believe in that.
Yes, I do.
I just want to draw your attention to number 23 on the sources of income. You have indicated the Communications Authority of Kenya gross salary of 25.4 million. Is that an annual 2-year income? Because there is something that says 2-year income there.
Yes, just above, it says 2-year, because we are told to list all income received during the calendar year preceding your nomination and in the current calendar year.
So that's for 24 months?
Yes, 24 months.
24 months?
Yes.
Meaning you are earning an average of about 1.58 million shillings gross?
Or thereabout, yes.
And the job you're taking up, you know the gross pay?
Yes, I do.
Is it above or below this?
It is below.
And you are willing to take above a pay when everybody in the country is now looking for a pay rise?
I would wish to respond to that. Indeed, over the...
Just note, eh?
Okay.
Just note.
Okay.
About
the question is why you would be willing to take a pay cut. What is the motivation that is motivating you to take a pay cut? Two, in your listed assets, you have said you have land and buildings to the amount of about 380 million shillings, and you've said you own a home in Nairobi?
Yes.
Maybe you disclose where this home is in Nairobi, whether it is at Afralty, and whether you own any property that is formerly at Afralty. And I think for me that will be all. Besides, you've been a company secretary, so you could be well positioned to take minutes of cabinet meetings, being secretary to the cabinet. But as you take minutes in cabinet, would you know where Teso South is, in which county it is? Maybe there's something to do with Teso South. Would you know where Teso South is in the Republic of Kenya, in which county, which part of Kenya?
Yes, just to pick it up from where...
Mercy, you'll take 4, then I allow you to answer.
I realize that you are in acting capacity for close to 2 years as DG of Communications Authority of Kenya. I remember around 2019, there was serious turbulence in the boardroom of this organization when the then DG or chairman was leaving, one Francis Wangusi. It was DG, or it was DG? DG. Yeah, DG, yes, DG. And in fact, at some point, the court intervened to revoke your appointment in acting capacity. So there was too much turmoil. Could you have been the cause of this turmoil? And if it is true, you intend to transfer such possible threats to the public service, mainstream public service. I also realize that you are largely in parastatal, of course. You have never been in the mainstream civil service as we know it. Those who join as DOs, rise to DCs, and so on and so forth, PSS. So your experience in the mainstream civil service could be limited. How are you equipped to execute this new mandate that is at the heart of the public service? Thank you.
Yes, Junet.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, I wanted to ask only one question, which is the nominee was the secretary of the Communications Authority. Now, as the Corporation Secretary and also as the Acting Director General for the Communications Authority of Kenya, what is your position on the installation of the Device Management System, DMS, that is largely believed to be a surveillance tool on mobile phone networks in the country?
Yes, Owen.
Just a quick question, nominee. Looking at your experience at the Communications Authority, you deal with a board that's not more than 10 people. And probably they are very homogeneous in thinking, and they are all probably sector players. You're going to be secretary to cabinet of 22 people, 24, very diverse, politicians, technocrats, everybody else there, high level of thinking and all kinds of manner. Low level, yes. How are you going to handle the diversity so that we can actually prepare a cabinet secretary to deliver their mandate? Thank you.
Mercy, can you answer those?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll start off with the first question from Honorable Ichongwa on the motivation to take a pay cut. Why would I be willing to take a pay cut when many others are looking for a rise in price? Now, I recognize that I come from the from the parastatal world, the state corporation world, and that this presents different skills from the central government. But I have been in public service all these years, and this indeed represents a growth opportunity for me. Over the years, and given the kind of investments that we have made as a family, I am able to make the adjustment in order to take this role. Moving to the second question, to disclose the location.
Chair, point of clarification.
Yes, Junet.
Chair, now could we say that under this difficult economic situation in the world, and in Africa, and in Kenya, this is the only nominee in the world who is ready to take a pay cut in the spirit of service? Could we now qualify her like that, Mr. Chair?
Yes, Mercy.
I believe this kind of move is not unusual. We have had this kind of cases, particularly where individuals have crossed from sectors that pay more than the public sector. So I think this is not really unusual, in my view. It is not unusual.
Tell him you have a buffer of 475 million.
Sure, I think if she's comfortable, that's what matters.
That's what I'm saying. Tell Junet you have a buffer of 475 million. Have a billion.
Okay. So,
Mercy.
okay, with your permission, I'll move to the second question, which was to disclose the location of the home. I own a home in Lavington on Kabasiran Avenue. And the question was attached to whether I have owned a property in Afralti. Afralti is one of the intergovernmental institutions that is affiliated with the Communications Authority of Kenya. So I do not own a property in Afralti. I own a property in Lavington on Kabasiran Avenue.
Maybe Chair, if Chair allows,
yes,
was that property at any one time part of the assets owned by Afralti?
No, it wasn't. It was part of the properties that were owned by Communications Authority of Kenya, properties that were disposed in a transparent process about maybe 10 years ago, and this was one of the properties.
So it is property that you own, that you bought from CA?
Yes.
CCK then?
CCK then.
At the time, were you working for CCK?
Yes.
At what level?
I was an assistant director.
How many of you bought those properties from the former CCK, and who financed the purchase of those properties?
I wouldn't speak for the others, but
no,
I'm aware.
I asked how many of the staff, former CCK staff,
yes,
purchased those properties, and for yourself,
yes,
of course, I don't expect you to speak for others, who financed, or how was it how was the purchase financed?
Okay. So these properties were about 5 in diverse locations in Nairobi, and for us to be able to purchase this property, we got financing from the Housing Finance Corporation of Kenya. So I'll move on to the next question, which was about Teso South, which county this is. I may not know exactly which county this is, but one thing I can assure you is that I have been up and down.
No, Chair, just on that issue of the Afrati, was the sale of CCK, was the sale was the sale supposed to be only for the people working for CCK, or for also people from outside could participate? Was it advertised? How was it? Give us a small preview of.
And even as you answer that, could you be aware that certain cadre of staff were locked out of this very lucrative scheme of purchasing these properties, and that some of you who are favored went ahead to put up properties, to develop properties within the facilities owned by Telecom Kenya or CCK. Sorry.
So maybe I can clarify the context. For these properties to be sold, they were valued by the Ministry of Lands and Housing then, and they were given a market value. And under the rules of disposal of properties then, the first right of refusal was granted to the occupant of the house. So I got this opportunity because I happened to be living in that house. I am aware that there are staff whose houses could not be disposed because of the location in which those houses were, so that some houses happened to be inside or in the middle of property or within the compound, such that to sell that house would mean subdividing the property in a manner that would really diminish the rest of the property in order to access those houses. And because of that, I am aware that there is one or two that could not be disposed because of that kind of impact that it would have on the rest of the land. But all others were disposed in that manner.
Chair.
Yes, Kimani.
So those who could not buy are the ones who are on the CCK side of Wayakiwe?
Yes.
Because Kabasiran is across on the other side,
Yes.
the side of Kianda School?
Yes.
So your property is now across the road?
Yes.
Okay.
Chair.
Yes.
I would like to understand, just following up, what was the reason for the sale and what was the value of that property when you bought it?
The reason for the sale was in keeping with a government move to get out of non-core operations, and therefore houses and the like, except for critical buildings, were being disposed. And this is how we ended up buying it. And if I recall correctly, the price at that point was about 38 million shillings. That was the market valuation given.
Which year was that?
It's about 10 years ago, 10, 12 years ago. Moving to the next question, where Honorable Wandai spoke about the time that I acted and that there was court action and there was a lot of turmoil in the boardroom. Perhaps I could go to this issue from a sequencing. This turmoil in the boardroom happened before. It happened before I was appointed. If my memory serves me right, it happened around March or April of 2019. I was appointed in August. of 2019. So I would want to believe that the two issues were not related.
There were court battles in which you are also involved. Injuncting you from going to the office, lifting the injunction.
Yes, I'm still progressing.
If my memory serves me right.
Yes, I'm still progressing. So I was appointed in August, on August 22nd, and by that time, already there was court action, because in April 2019, there was court action challenging the legitimacy of appointment of board of directors. I had not been appointed then. So that by August 22nd, when the then DG's term came to an end, there was no sitting board. So I was appointed on exception by the State Corporations Advisory Council and not the board, because there was no sitting board. And subsequent thereto, I proceeded...
But who announced your appointment? Wasn't it the minister?
Yes, I was appointed by SCAC, but the appointment was announced by the chair of the board, who could not convene a board meeting because the board was inquirite.
Minister Mucheru who announced your appointment?
No, it was announced by the sitting chair then, with the public sector board members who were present, because the board was not quorate. But that indeed was during the tenure of CS Mucheru.
Yeah, but Chair, how was the former DG removed? If even though his tenure came to an end, and he was complaining that he was being removed from office unceremoniously, if the board was not fully constituted, how was he exited from the corporation?
Mercy.
The term of the DG's term came to an end by operation of law, and that came to an end on 22nd of August 2019.
He went to court.
Yes, he
Yeah.
did go to court, indicating that he required an additional term to carry on, but by the term of law, the term came to an end. So it is at that time I was appointed by SCAC.
But if he knew his term has come to an end, was he a madman to go to court?
And Chair, as she answers that, no, this is very important, Honorable Chair. It was at the heart of this issue, really. Do you remember sometime in November 2019, when you, together with called the media to the authorities' offices in an attempt at what you called clarifying a court decision regarding your appointment as acting DG of the authority? Okay. You then went ahead to publish the statement on the authority's website in a clear attempt to deny your then boss Wangusi a chance to resume his office. Okay. What do you make of this, of all this? It puts you at the heart of the machinations to take control of the authority in a very unprocedural manner. And remember, thereafter you acted for 2 full years, and you are never confirmed as full substantive DG. Yes, thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Through the chair, when a court order is issued, the Communications Authority of Kenya has always abided by the court order. If a court order had been issued for me to vacate office, I would have been the first to vacate the office. So when the litigation was mounted with the former DG requesting to come back into the office, what we did was to clarify based on legal guidance given on what the import of that court order was. And that court order did not include vacating office. So my remaining in office was in order. Indeed, if at the time when the board was constituted and it came into office, if it had wished to substitute me for any of my colleagues who would have been more than able to handle the job, they would have done so. So I carried on performing the duties of acting DG until end of September, when a successful appointment was made. No court order was breached during that time. Indeed, the legal risk that persisted during that duration was very high, and I was able, through very diligent following up and not entertaining any adjournments, to actually have those governance-related matters concluded in slightly more than 12 months, about 12 or 13 months inside of COVID. So there was no attempt whatsoever to delay or derail that process at all.
Yeah. Chair, your statement. You see, Chair, by the time the nominee was being appointed as an acting DG, there was no proper board in that organization. As you said, her appointment came from the ministry. She was appointed by the then minister, Musheru. That is what is on record, Chairman. Unless otherwise she can give us proof that it is the board that appointed her. You have a board appointment or something. The fact of the matter is, at that point in time, there was no proper board that was properly constituted.
Chair, if I may, the State Corporations Act has some remainder powers which provides that where there is no board that is sitting and able to make a decision, the State Corporations Advisory Council kicks in for purposes of business continuity. As I indicated earlier, I was appointed by SCAC, and SCAC acted rightly in making that appointment given the circumstances and the situation of the day.
So these board members were acting on behalf of SCAC when they issued this settlement in November 2019? Yes.
SCAC made the recommendation. Then we had a sitting chair, and we had the board members who hold office by virtue, who hold board membership by virtue of office. These are the representatives of the ministry, the representative of the treasury. These hold board membership in the authority by virtue of office. So those ones are permanent members.
Do they constitute quorum?
Yes.
But they did not constitute quorum. So the appointment by SCAC, made, as I indicated, on exceptional basis, is the one that was made under the State Corporations Act, because we did not have a quorate
Chair,
board.
Chair, the procedure of appointing the Director General of Communications Authority, you know it very well, Madam.
Yes.
SCAC has no role there. The procedure is well stipulated in law on how to appoint the board members of... I participated in crafting the Communications Authority Bill in the 11th Parliament. And it was a very rigorous and very well public participated bill, I remember, under the chairmanship of Honorable Jamle Kamau. So how to appoint the Director General of CA and how to appoint the board members of CA are very clearly stipulated in that law. So anything outside that is an illegality. And I know you're a senior lawyer, and that is even more senior, the chair.
Yeah, so just to follow up on, she has used two words interchangeably, that she said first she was appointed by SCAC, then she said she was recommended for appointment by SCAC. So which is the correct position?
Okay. So allow me to really clarify this, because it is indeed not an illegality, and I would wish to clarify this. In April 2019, the term of some members of the board expired and was due for renewal. New board members were appointed, and there was litigation challenging the appointment of the new board members.
Was that Kembe or Gituku?
That during Gituku's tenure. So upon that court order arising from that litigation, there was no sitting board, there was no quorate board capable of sitting and discharging the business of the authority from April 2019. The DG Wangusi's term came to an end at the end of August. There is still no sitting board because there is no quorum. What is to happen in a situation like that? This is where the State Corporations Act kicks in, because in the event of an inability of a state corporation to discharge critical business such as this, the state corporation kicks in because it is a critical shareholder in any state corporation and ensures business continuity. So it is on that basis that SCAC made a recommendation that I be appointed to hold forth.
You are right.
During that time.
Chair, through you, she's right, but you, Chair, still the state corporation could extend the term of Wangusi, then prepare or appoint a proper board now to appoint a substantive DG. There was some machination there, Chairman.
But that she can't answer that because she was not the board. But you have to explain, Mercy.
Yes.
Now, SCAC recommends, as Owen asks, recommended to who to appoint you? Because you've said SCAC appointed you.
Yes.
Then you later said SCAC recommended your appointment.
Okay. So when SCAC did the recommendation, this is addressed to the principal secretary because government is the majority shareholder of any state corporation. So it was in that capacity that the PS ICT, I believe then it was PS Jerome Ochieng, together with the chair and the other board members who sit by virtue of office, then appointed me to hold forth.
The chair had gone.
Ben Gituko was sitting. Yes, and that is how I was appointed. I just wish to clarify, Chair, that I did not hold forth through an illegality.
Now tell us, Mercy.
Yes.
What do you understand to be your duty as Secretary of the Cabinet?
So I had some other questions. Should I?
Okay, then finish answering.
Okay, all right.
Follow the chair.
The other question was on my position on the DMS, the device management system. Chair, this system, the DMS system, was aimed at enhancing security and quality of standards for consumers. And the objective for the DMS was to identify all devices that use mobile services in Kenya and to enable users to verify if the device they were using is genuine before purchase. I know that there has been a narrative about it being a spying gadget. We all know that technology has immense capabilities, but every technology is formatted as fit for purpose for a certain reason. And this was to get rid of the counterfeits that come into the market that are not value for money for a consumer And at some point, the DMS system was a subject to litigation. And at the Court of Appeal, the court found that we could carry on with the implementation subject to carrying out extensive stakeholder participation, which we did from the middle of last year to date, and the matter is pending at the Supreme Court as we speak. The last question was that I have dealt with boards that are smaller and are comprised of sector players. How will I handle a board of 24 and largely comprised of politicians? Chair, if I may indicate, yes, indeed, I have dealt with boards of 11 to 13, which is the typical state corporation board. The membership and the cornerstone of the membership is actually diversity. So this is not a homogeneous board. It does have diversity of skills, diversity of experiences in order to bring value. I believe that a board of 24, while it may be larger in number, has the same principle at the cornerstone of it, which is to exercise individual and collective responsibility and to move the implementation and progression of government policy through decision-making through the cabinet. I have reflected deeply on this nomination, on my experiences from the past and my experience, and I believe, Honorable Chair and members, that if nominated, I am more than able to handle this task. Indeed, this comes at a national level, which is a great honor, having come from a sector-specific environment. Thank you.
Chair, if you allow me, just one thing. I agree with you that the principles are the same. But you see, in Communications Authority, you're dealing with only one product, communication. You move to Cabinet, you're dealing with agriculture, with transport, with energy, with education, with livestock, all manner of things. The subject is so diverse and the issues are diverse and, you know, at the macro level. But you handled only one. You know, I would have been convinced if you had worked in posta, in agriculture, in, you know, at least a little bit of many things, but only one thing, then you are, I want to use, you are using the escalator to get into cabinet with all that diverse, and you have not been in mainstream government. Are you going to help this country?
Could I respond to that? Okay. Through the chair, indeed, the 22 years have largely been within the ICT sector, which, interestingly, is not a homogeneous sector. It carries various subsectors in it: electronic commerce, cybersecurity, postal, telecommunications. So within it is a diversity of offerings. I did also indicate that over the years, I have actually sat and participated in non-executive capacity in quite a number of institutions, which, if you may, I would like to enumerate. I served on a number of boards as an alternate to the Director General from about 2018. I served in the education sector as an alternate at the Multimedia University, and it is at that time that the college became chartered and moved to become a university. I also sat on the ICT board, which is ICT driven, but is more towards government to citizen connection, much as it is in the sector. I have served on the council of the Institute of Chartered Public Secretaries of Kenya. I have chaired, I'm the immediate past chair of the Certified Public Secretary Board, and currently I sit as a trustee in the SOS Children's Home. These experiences have been very diverse and have brought to my knowledge and in my participation very cross-cutting issues from education, children matters and social welfare, education, and others. I have also undertaken quite extensive training in this area, which I believe will bear me well. I believe this places me in a good space, having had that diversity of exposure to come in and handle the aspects at the national level, be they transport and infrastructure, agriculture, education, the digital economy, and the like, because indeed ICT of its very nature is very cross-cutting and is no longer conventional. ICT has now been used as a vehicle to transmit across the board, from agriculture to infrastructure, because Kenya has a very ambitious broadband policy towards becoming a digitally transformed nation. I think from where I come from, it could not have been a better place as we move towards the next.
Yes, Mercy. Now go back to the question I asked you. What do you understand to be the role and duties of a secretary to the cabinet?
Thank you, Chair. The role of the secretary to the cabinet is captured in Article 154 of the Constitution, and this is a very critical office because it sits to support the progression of government business, meaning it sits to execute the different policy agendas that would enable achieve the economic transformation agenda going forward. As Secretary of the Cabinet, this is a role that carries a very high threshold of accountability and trust. Indeed, it carries a responsibility that would require one to be very well aware of the subject issues as to prepare them for prosecution at the cabinet in liaison with the various cabinet secretaries. And I am aware that there's a lot of technical capacity that has been availed to enable this kind of quality progression of matters to the cabinet to enable individual and collective decision-making going forward. This role not only enables decision-making, which is one part, it also enables and facilitates execution of those decisions by way of liaising with the various ministries, the various issues they may be having any enablement. And I recognize that the current Executive Order number 1 of 2022 does actually clarify clearly about the need for liaison and coordination across the board in order to enable the speediness or the efficiency of execution of this role. This office also has other attendant duties, such as chairing the assumption of office, swearing in, and other ceremonial duties, and any other duty that may be delegated by the President or the Cabinet, as the case may be.
Now, just 1 minute, Kimani. Article 35 of the Constitution gives, let me just finish this, then I'll give to you. Gives every citizen the right to information.
Yes.
Now, as Secretary of the Cabinet, you emerge out of Cabinet and you are confronted by Robert Mbui, who demands to know under Article 35 what you have been discussing. How do you conduct yourself there?
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Indeed.
You've understood the question?
Yes, I have.
Yes.
Indeed, one of the roles of this office is to communicate decision-making to the public, to the mwananchi, because any decision made is made in trust for the benefit of the mwananchi. However, this office, because of the nature of business it handles, is couched within a framework of confidentiality and secrecy. And it is therefore important that before communication is made, it is packaged in such a way that it is fit for consumption by the mwananchi and in keeping with the safeguards that are provided for in the space of confidentiality and secrecy.
Just on a point of order, because there is a question I asked that she did not answer, and it relates to just part of what she was articulating in terms of her being, if she was successful, following up on execution of what has been discussed by Cabinet. And that's why I asked, supposing you are to execute something in Teso South through the County Commissioner of Teso South, I had asked a very specific question. And just appreciating that you're coming from the corporate sector, transitioning to the public sector, I was just testing your geography, whether you know where Teso South is.
Okay, I want to confirm that she has been to Migori.
Now, Yes, Naisula.
Thank you, Chair.
Take Naisula, Murugara, Amisi, and Mary Masi. One each.
Thank you, Chair. And my question is almost related to what you've asked, because I wanted to ask how she will balance.
What I just asked?
I want to say,
okay.
The balance between sharing information to the public and confidentiality matters cabinet. But I want to just say that in this era of digital life, where everything is online, information is relayed almost in real time. Screenshots, we can get screenshots of cabinet meetings and what was discussed before you've synthesized it enough to share to the public. So I would like to know how you will ensure that you will manage this until the information is ready to be shared to the public.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, thank you, Chair. As you've clearly indicated duties and roles, looking back on the holders of that position, like Sally Kosgei, she was such a powerful woman during Moi's regime, Francis Kimemia, Kibaki's regime, Joseph Kinyua. Now, I'm wondering, if you see the roles and the positions that were called, permanent secretary, then PS, head of service, they were more or less doing the same thing that you are going to. In fact, in the previous regime, this role was silent. So maybe it was given to head of public service. Now that's where the confusion is. That there is now the head of public service, and now you are going to be the secretary. So Kenyans will be wondering, are you still even motivated that the previous occupants had an expanded role and even a bigger name, while yours seems to be, shrinking. Now, on top of your shrinking salary and on top of your previous assignment, you are not confirmed. You are the DG, but they didn't confirm you. Instead, they put in Ezra Chiloba, somebody else from outside. Is this somewhat really, do you still have the strength to get motivated for this job? Thank you.
Murugara.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chair. Nominee, as the Secretary to the Cabinet, you will be keeping the minutes of the Cabinet and the decisions made in the Cabinet meetings, which is what is used to run government. But besides that, we have what are known as roadside declarations. And the ones possibly made by His Excellency the President, I may forgive you for that, because usually that is done. But ministers, your cabinet secretaries, he comes to Tharaka where he comes from, we dance for him, and as he leaves the place, he declares that we are going to get a dam immediately. When actually that has not been discussed in the cabinet, it is not minuted anywhere, it's purely roadside. How will you be dealing with such decisions?
Mary Masi.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Allow me to inform the nominee that one of the vernacular radio stations that is being regulated by the authority that was acting DG actually is domiciled in Teso South. Having said that, I think my question is, what are your strengths? What do you think are your strengths to enable you, that make you fit for this position? Thank you.
Honorable Speaker, my question was what Honorable Murugara has just asked, but I just want to add something. In a scenario where you are being pushed or you are coerced from the executive or rather from the ministries that you need to do some changes in the minutes without following the proper procedure, can you withstand political pressure? Number two, how will you ensure there is synergy and proper coordination among the ministry?
You answer those. I think we're coming to an end.
Thank you. Through the chair, I'll start off with the first question on how would I achieve the balance between sharing information in the digital age and taking due care to ensure that that information is captured and crystallized as should be. Indeed, Mr. Chairman, information sharing in the digital age is unprecedented, and often critical information can go viral very, very quickly. And this becomes the stage for the recognition of official channels of communication in order to mitigate against fake news and this kind of release of information that would happen. I want to believe that the same due care and effort that happens in the boardroom in taking of minutes applies at the cabinet, and even more so, that those kind of safeguards are already in place. And because decisions that are made at the national level often will carry components that are very sensitive, such as components on security, it could carry components that capture the aspect of defense and others, it would be very important to recognize an official channel of release so that such aspects are removed when official communication is released in collaboration with the communications team that would exist to support the Cabinet Office. Going to the next question about where is the motivation in a space where the role of the Secretary to Cabinet seems to have diminished from previous holders. Mr. Chairman, I want to believe that within the Constitution of Kenya 2010, this was the first time that this office was recognized in a singular nature. And I also have asked myself why, given that this office has been held before. But what came to me is that this came about 50 years into independence, and a lot has happened in Kenya. The economy has grown, and a lot of issues have deepened and become more complex. As a result, every administration has within its right a leeway in which to organize and design how it will conduct its business in the manner that it deems fit. And I want to believe that His Excellency the President, in the executive order, found it fit to organize it this way. The Cabinet Office is an enduring institution, and even when this role has been combined with others, it has continued to discharge its function. And examining the current commitment in the economic transformation agenda, I sense a couple of things. I sense a deepening of execution of decisions. I sense a greater effort towards collaboration. And because of this, I sense that this office will be required to then deepen its collaborative effort in driving decision-making arising out of this cabinet. I believe this office is set apart in an effort to build on the foundations that have been set and to make it even more agile to drive execution of decision-making and in order to drive government business. Moving on to the next question by Honorable Murugara on how to handle roadside declarations, because this indeed will be made from time to time, and this is the reality. I am aware that even when roadside declarations are made, in order to enable implementation, that decision is normally crystallized into a formal nature to enable decision-making. And at that point is when the caution that will enable picking up any interdependencies, any concerns that needed to be addressed are identified and provided for, so that at the end of the day, when the communique goes out for implementation, it is as holistic as would have been anticipated had this decision been made in a formal sitting. This is how I would propose to deal with it. Then going to the question by Honorable Mishi Mboko, how to withstand pressure in the event of preparation of minutes. Through the chair, preparation of minutes is the duty of the Secretary to Cabinet. And these minutes are done and confirmed by the same cabinet and owned by the chair of that cabinet, who would be His Excellency. I want to believe that in the space of that kind of coordination and collaboration, minutes sometimes can be adjusted to give a full reflection of what it is that was desired or what it is that was meant for those minutes to give full effect. But I did understand the Honorable Mishimboko to indicate where changes are being made that are extraordinary, which would then be brought to the attention of the Chair of the Cabinet. Then going to Honorable Emase's question on what my strengths are, through the Chair, I bring first and foremost a span of public sector experience. I come indeed from the parastatal space, as has been indicated, but I have worked with government deeply. As I indicated earlier, for the last 15 to 18 years, I have been developing policies and regulatory frameworks, which, as you all know, are prosecuted through the House, through the National Assembly, and through the ICT committees. Indeed, the sector has had several pieces of legislation, and this is a role that I have handled for at least 15 years. So I have a sense of how government works, and this is what I bring. I also bring abilities in leadership. I bring in energy and competencies in law, in governance, in strategy, and I believe this will bring me to bear. Honorable Chair, I bring integrity, and I'm an honest learner. And indeed, over the years, with the evolution of technology, I have been in a space where we have learned and relearned to keep up with the pace of technology. I bring a work culture that serves collegiality and respect. And this, I believe, will bear me well, patriotism and collective decision-making. So, Mr. Chairman, I believe within the commitment of achieving the weighty roles that this office carries, and also in keeping an open door policy and communication, that these are strengths that I believe will earn me the goodwill and the open door ability to collaborate with others in order to execute my role.
Have you answered all of them?
Yes, I have, Chairman.
Thank you. Posing, I wanted to close here, but I'll give you half a minute.
Thank you, Chair, and for indulging me. I really appreciate it. I want to be on record, Chair, not really as a question, but maybe a comment. By saying, Chair, that I've listened. First of all, I looked at when you gave us the opportunity to look at that office, Cabinet or Secretary of the Cabinet. And I was asking myself, vetting this office for what, as Parliament? And I want to be on record, Chair, because maybe our contribution, our talk might lead to amendments or changes that might give this office some significance. There before, in the past, this office was very powerful. Why? Because it was head of public service and secretary to the cabinet. That was when this office was really important. Last Parliament, we declined one person who was being proposed for this office, and Parliament declined and rejected. That is the first rejection by Parliament. They may not say it's a person, but Parliament rejected. And yet, Honorable Chair, that office functioned even without approval of Parliament for about 10 years. So maybe going forward, maybe the people who thought about this office being in the Constitution Speaker and being vetted by Parliament, that the function would also involve the public service or something like that, maybe in future, so that it has a meaning. The nominee has really undergone grueling process, but if you look at the end, at the further end, you ask yourself, what is she going to do? So I wish her, if Parliament approves her, I wish her well. But in future, maybe that office should be combined with the Secretary of the Cabinet and Head of Public Service. That's when it will have a meaning, Honorable Speaker. I thank you, in my opinion.
Yes, Ferdinand, I saw you raising your hand. I want us to conclude.
Yeah, I think it's more or less touched on what I've said. But looking at where you're coming from, that office has been vacant for some time. It doesn't matter your background. You're a lawyer, can see, you know most of the things. You've been truly in the private sector, and you're getting into the political area, which is actually very, very stormy. I don't know how prepared you are to be able to get in there. Of course, you have mentioned about it, but I just felt that maybe this position, you'll have continued where you are. And this position is, I don't know, it's not easy. Because it's not been there.
Ichungwa?
Chair, I think it's fair what the honourable members are raising, including the proposals by Honourable Kosing. But we must also bear in mind that the president had his reasons, both the former president and the current president, in separating the two offices. But maybe just as I conclude, to inform the nominee, should you be approved, things work a little differently in the public sector than in the corporate world, where you are coming from, and you may need to do a lot of learning. That's why I was asking you a very simple question, where Teso South is in Busia. No, Honorable Junet said she knows where Migori is because she has been in function with her in Migori. So you may need to quickly appraise yourselves on issues that may be outside the office setting, especially more so even in opening up the office to members of parliament, as you hear people saying here, to be able to engage more with people and be appraised also on people issues, so that you, even as you sit in cabinet, you're also appraised of the issues that touch on the people. And we say that because we sit here representing people who have sent us here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Speaker, allow me inform the nominee where Teso South is. Teso South is in Busia County, and the MP is seated right here. Thank you.
And it's a frontier constituency to
Yes,
Uganda.
when you want to go to Uganda, I will be delighted to welcome you and help you cross.
Yes, Mercy, I think we'll conclude here. I give you 3 minutes to tell us your wish.
Okay.
What lawyers would call you a... yes.
It was raised by Honorable Kosing. I wanted to correct.
Yes.
I participated in the rejection of the previous nominee for this position. She was being rejected because of the performance of her previous office, not for the office that she was appointed. She was coming from another office, so members were judging her with that other office, not because of this office. So, you know, we may think that we were okay.
Yes, Mercy.
Thank you, Chair.
Your final testament.
Yes.
3 minutes.
Thank you, Chair. Let me just indicate that I come from the parastatal world, and in the course of discharging the mandate of the Communications Authority of Kenya, I have traversed the length and width of Kenya, inspecting base stations, quality of service inspections, and the like. And I want to believe that I'm fairly knowledgeable on the terrain of this country. In coming to a conclusion, Chair and honorable members, it has been a pleasure to be hosted in this committee, and I think this has been quite an engagement for me, for which I'm very grateful. Indeed, it has shed light on some of the perspectives and insights that I need to bear in mind, if approved, that I would carry these insights going forward into this office. I'm profoundly grateful that the culmination of 22 years of public service would find me in this space. This for me is a confirmation that indeed public service commitment and effort can bring somebody, any Kenyan, to find themselves to a place such as this and rise to a position such as the one that I have been nominated to, if appointed. I want to assure you, Chair, honorable members, His Excellency the President, that if afforded this opportunity through confirmation, that I will bring my energy and effort to bring a full expression to this office as currently set out in the Constitution, and will remain true to the Constitution and to the values and principles of public service. Indeed, at this point in my life, it is a deep desire to be part of making the dream for a prosperous Kenya for all come true. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mercy. We thank you for this positive engagement. You are now released to go back to your other duties.
Okay, thank you.
Sergeant, you can... and there is iko chai ya ushuru hapa nje. Yes, you... Honorable members, I think we've come to the end of this long but very diverse and interesting process of confirmation hearings. It has been in public domain. We thank the media for relaying each and every of these proceedings live. I'm sure through the proceedings you have been in communication with Kenyans. Some have been even sending you questions to ask on their behalf. I want on behalf of the National Assembly to sincerely thank the committee members, particularly for accepting to serve in this committee upon nomination, because you had the choice to decline, for sparing your time, working for inordinately long hours. We have been sitting from literally 8 to 8. We want to extend some congratulations to all the nominees for keeping time, turning up on time, and engaging the committee with decorum and respect. I want to thank all of you members for carrying the dignity of the House at every level in the manner that we have conducted the proceedings. There is not a single revulsion I've had of us being overbearing or leaning too hard maliciously on any member. Even where very hard questions have been asked, they have been all geared towards establishing the suitability of the nominee to hold the office to which they have been nominated. We still have much more to do. As you are aware, from here you are retreating to start preparing the report. We cannot keep the government and the country in suspense without cabinet, because the role of cabinet under our constitutional dispensation is critical and clear. So we will retreat to prepare our report, which should be out by early next week. The rest will be through the normal laid out steps and our standing orders, because we are a committee of the plenary of Parliament. We must report back to the plenary of Parliament through the House Business Committee, and whatever report we make must also be voted on and accepted by the plenary of Parliament for transmission to the requesting authority, which is His Excellency the President. So on your behalf, I want to extend a very sincere thanks to the public for resonating with the committee, the media, for giving very extensive and open coverage to the proceedings, our backroom staff, Sarah, our clerk, and her team for making sure all the documentation are at hand. Our staff out there who have made sure you have your teas and your mandazis and your lunch on time. And everybody who has in one way or another, the office of the sergeant, who have made it possible for us to do this work this far. So I want to request now the Fourth Estate to take your leave and leave us to do some housekeeping business on the next steps to take. Thank you very much, and have a good weekend for those who will have no work to do, and a fruitful, busy working weekend for all of us